Oh, when I see the painting out, I know there's work involved. Now, what is this video all about? I've got if you were with me the other day, you would have seen that I painted these bathroom walls, and I did it with a little 9-inch mini roller. You got to check that video out. It didn't really take me that long, and I got it nice and straight up along there. Didn't get anything anywhere on the ceilings or on the door frames or anything, but now you see that it's going to be time to start cutting in. And on this particular video, I am just only going to be showing you how to cut in the ceiling. And if you were with me the other day watching me paint these walls, I think I said I would show you how to cut in without really having that much knowledge about having to cut in, and without really cutting in per se, to where you've got to do it really super close. So I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. And like I'm saying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in the ceilings, and I'm going to cut in above that tile. And if you notice along that tile, there's grout there. You see that? There's a line of grout right up there. How am I going to cut in next to that? Well, I'm not a professional painter, and you don't have to be either. I would normally cut this in with a cut-in paintbrush and take my time with it and stuff. But see, it's right up next to that grout line, and I want to keep that grout line there. And I want it to be nice and straight, and I want to do this to where somebody else, you as a matter of fact, can do this without that much knowledge. So that's why I am going to mask this off. I'm going to tape this all off, and I'm going to use masking tape, and I'm going to put that up there so that I don't have to be really that careful when I start putting on this paint. And if you've never cut in before, hey, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it by using masking tape, okay? And you know, in the old days, this was the only type of masking tape they had, right? And I've got some more masking tape, and I think I'm going to use that. Well, nowadays they generally use the blue tape, and that's really better. It's designed to not have your paint bleed through there. Well, I don't have enough of that, do I? And I'm going to save that for something else. I'm not even going to use the blue, and I'm not going to go back to the store and buy some more blue tape. But the blue tape, believe it or not, is probably twice as expensive, maybe more than twice as expensive as buying regular masking tape. And this is all I've got, and this is all I am going to use. And I'm going to do this and show you how to do that here in a minute. Okay, so my paint on the ceiling is white, and I need to cut that in all the way along the side. And after I put the masking tape up, I'm going to do the ceiling. I'm not going to be, you know, I need to get it as straight as I can, and your tape line, your cut-in line, is only as good as your masking tape when you put it on there. So, you know, is there a right and wrong way to do anything? Pretty much, yeah, there is. And I'll show you how to put the masking tape on in the right way. Now here's one other thing that I'm going to end up having to do, and I don't know if I'm going to make a separate video of it or not. I'm going to end up having to paint this door frame, and I'm only going to, and see, this is white too, so when I have the white paint out, I'm going to get the ceiling all done first, and then I want to come down here and I want to paint this. Now before we moved in to the condo, I was pretty sure that I was going to be able to paint. I was going to do all the painting, get all the carpet down, do everything I needed to do before we moved in. And that included the bathrooms. And so I had pulled all the bathrooms apart, and I was gonna get all that painted and everything. And then I ran out of time. We changed our mind on some things, and we decided to get moved in here in a little bit quicker time. So when I got ready to paint all the door frames and stuff, I thought I'm going to do the bathrooms later. So when I painted all the door frames initially, I painted them all to here, and I didn't paint any more. I didn't go from here over, because normally when I paint door casings, I'll do it with the white paint, and I'll get a little bit on the wall, let's say, and I won't have to worry. I don't really worry about cutting this in exactly. And then I come back after I do the walls. I do the walls the same way, and then I'll cut the wall into the casing. Well, because I didn't do the bathrooms, I just finished the door frames out to about here. So now I've got to paint from here to there. Not only that, I want to get a nice straight line up against the wall, and I got to do that same thing at the top edge. And when I paint this side of the door frame, obviously I can't get the edge over there, so I'm just going to go the white from here over to there and blend it and recut it in just on this face, because this edge has already been done. When I painted this edge, I went over to about here, see? So now all I have to go is from here to there, but on the top I'm going to go from here to there, but I'm going to paint the top edge. And when I do this, I'm going to go from here to there, but I'm going to do this edge over here. Do I really have to paint that edge, you know, with new paint? Yeah. I mean, you don't really have to, but I'm going to, because everything else I painted that way, and I want, you know, it's just a little bit of pride in my work to make sure that I've done the whole thing. You know what I mean? And so when I have the masking tape out, I could cut this in and be real careful with that and stuff, but it's going to be kind of tricky to get it down in there without getting it on the wall and stuff. And I really don't want to get it on the wall as much, because when I get the white paint on here, then when I'm doing the gray, I've only got one coat of paint on here with the roller. If I get too much white on here, then I have to cut in twice, because my gray paint won't necessarily cover in one coat on here if I have some white semi-gloss paint on there too, because the other color was that tan. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm not confusing you there. So when I put the masking tape up all the way around, I'm going to finish, and I'm going to do it around the edge of the door frame at the top and the side, as well as I'll pull this back and I'll put some masking tape on the floor right in here, and probably along the edge of the base right there, just so I don't get anything on there. That way I can do it. And you know what? I'll probably end up taking this strike plate off too, so I can get this edge all the way through there. Or, well, I mean, I probably could leave it and be careful, but because when I painted this initially, I painted over and probably went over to there, so I probably could leave that if I want, or I can take it off. I'm not quite sure what I'll do just yet, but see, that's all I'm going to concentrate on. When you look at your project for a whole bathroom and stuff, you got lots of stuff to do. Painting the whole ceiling, then cutting it in, then painting the walls, cutting that in, and around the toilet, around the tile, around the sink, around the light switches and stuff, and I'll mess with that after I get done with the ceiling. I'm not even going to worry about anything, and because I'm in a bathroom, I took the door off, I took the hinges off, I got that all set over there. That's already been painted from before, and I don't want that in my way. And you know, you just take this little bathroom one step at a time, because see, I got all this stuff all around here, and all I did first is I concentrated on doing the ceiling section. Then after that dried, and I had to put 2 coats up there, and after that dried, then I concentrated on just the walls. Okay, Now I'm gonna go back up. Now that all that's dry and the ceiling's dry, now I'll come back and do the cut-in for the ceiling. And when all that's done, then I'll come back, wait for the ceiling to be dry all the way, then I'll come back and figure out how to get the rest of the walls done, whether or not I'm gonna put masking tape up there on the ceiling that I've just painted, or if I'm gonna cut that in with the paintbrush without putting any masking tape up. Well, I'll have to figure that out to see how well this masking tape, this masking tape is kind of a test to see how well I can get it up there and do this whole thing, because I think I told you before, I'm going to show you how to do this without having to have any special knowledge about how to use a cut-in paintbrush and how not to get it on the walls and all that kind of stuff, because you know I could cut this in pretty good and have it look acceptable without putting any masking tape. But I'm going to do the masking tape, show you how to do it that way, in case you're really not, you know, you're probably going to be a beginner or an intermediate person who's watching this video. You're not going to be somebody who knows how to cut in. If you know how to cut in, you know how to paint, you're not watching this video anyways, right? And so you're watching this because you want to learn how to do it and how to make it look like a painter's project and how to make it look like a professional, even though you're not a professional, right? That's why you're watching these videos, okay? So my next step is I've got to clean this up a little bit, get my little ladder out, and I just use my little step ladder like this. This works really good. Nice wide steps. Don't use one with little ones because you're going to twist your ankle on it. This is a nice easy one to use, and I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to get up there and put masking tape on. Okay, I got some masking tape up, but I want to show you the right way to put masking tape up. Now see, I put that masking tape up right up tight to the ceiling because I wanted to cover up that grout line. Okay, I wanted to do that, and if you notice, I put little pieces up there, little piece, little piece, little piece, because the grout line is just indented just a hair lower than the tile, so I couldn't put that masking tape up exactly how I normally put it up, because I wanted to kind of follow the grout line in case the grout line wasn't perfectly straight. It's kind of wavy in certain areas, but I put that masking tape up to there, and then I ran it along this ceiling here and along this one. Okay, can you see now that when I get ready to get up there with the paintbrush, I'm just going to paint that little edge, and I don't have to be really precise with cutting it in with a cut-in paintbrush and a nice steady hand, and maybe you've got to backhand it up there because you're going up upside down up above your head. It's a little bit different cutting in a ceiling as opposed to walls, you know what I mean? And so it's important to get that tape up there nice and straight, and I try to get that as long of a piece as I can. Well, you can't really do that by tearing little pieces off, little piece, little piece, little piece, and then it gets kind of tricky. And like I say, cut in, having your nice straight line up there is only as straight as whoever's putting the masking tape up. And if you don't put the masking tape up right, once you pull that down, you're not going to have a nice straight line. Okay, so I'm going to get up there in a minute and show you how I normally put it. And I'm going to run a piece here over to there. I've already ran a piece along the top, and I still got to go from here on down to about there. I've already masked it from here, and I think I might put another piece of masking tape here because I'm going to try to get this edge here if I can with my little cut-in paintbrush. I think I'll be able to do it nice as long as I get some masking tape there. masked down here on the floor because remember I've got to paint this piece here. I had that down, it already came up. I've got masking tape underneath there too. Sometimes I'll just mask that and put a little piece of cardboard on the floor if I don't have the craft paper down, but I still have the craft paper down from painting these walls. You know, I could take the craft paper down out and just put a little piece of cardboard along the wall, you know, when I get ready to paint. But hey, we're just talking about the ceiling right now, right? So I'm going to get up there and show you do's and don'ts on putting masking tape up, okay? Okay, here's what I don't want to see you do. Most people, when they get up here, they'll end up pulling a piece of masking tape off, let's say, you know, yay far. And then getting up here and trying to line this one piece up exactly from here to there, and then go across, and then take another piece. Okay, there's only so far you can do it, or I've seen them. Well, here, and you could go around the whole ceiling like this if you really wanted to, and line it up like that, and try to get your eye out of the light and put the next piece up, and then do that and keep going and keep going. But it makes it really difficult because once you pull it all off, your ceiling might have some dips in it, and it might not be straight. And I've seen some people, oh, okay, yeah, just go like this and put it on there, and then they hold it like that, and then they try to take this like that, and then try to push that down there and kind of line that up from there, and then go out a little bit further and try to, you know, get this back edge done first before they go down. It's kind of tricky to do that, okay? And so what I normally do, I'm gonna put this masking tape back on here. What I normally do is a little bit different way. Okay, I'm gonna move my my ladder here. Let's see if I can't. See, I'm not sure if I can get it all the way because it's a brand new roll. And so it's going to be kind of heavy. I'm looking back because I want to make sure I'm not covering. Okay, so I would start right here in the corner. Okay, now I'm going to put my masking tape right up against the ceiling. Okay, and now I can roll it right down onto the wall. See this first, I'm gonna just take that piece off because it was a piece from the start, okay? And I'm gonna start over with the new piece, okay? Let's start off with the new piece. And I'm gonna get it right up in here. I'm gonna hold my masking tape flat up against the ceiling so I get that started right, okay? Now I can just roll that. I can roll it right down onto the wall where I want it. Do you see what I mean? And I can keep pulling this out. I've got it tight to the ceiling. And now I can take that and just roll it in my hand, and it's going to go down flat. And it's right up where I want it, nice straight. Now I hold my finger here, and I don't want to go out too far, okay? I can roll that right on down. And this wall has a little between the wall and the ceiling is kind of dipped just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm holding the tape a little bit different than how I would if I wasn't doing it exactly like this. See? Okay. And it's always up tight. Can you see that I've got that up tight? And so now when I swivel it down, it just goes right down where it needs to go. Now granted, I can only go so far before I have to get down off of here, and I can't just let this dangle. If this was a thinner roll, I could let it dangle. But see, if I let go of this right now, it's going to go because it's too heavy. Okay, so maybe I can pull out that much. Let's see if I can. And now I'm down low enough so that I can get back up on my ladder without taking it off. See, I'm trying to do it without having to stop go with little pieces of masking tape. See there? And then I just do some more. I think you can see that. And let's see if I can do it. One lower strand. See there? And that's the proper way to get it nice and tight. See, it's off right there a little bit, so I can start again. And that is straight. Okay? Like I say, your cut-in is only as straight as your masking tape line. And at this point, I've got to finish off this little bit. And I already took a little piece and went from the corner over. Okay? And now I can line that up. Okay? That's the proper way to put masking tape nice and straight along the ceiling. You can do that on walls, you can do that on a baseboard. I'm even going to show you how to do that right here along this door frame edge right now. Okay, hopefully you can see this. I'm in a small confined area, so I'm trying to do this so I'm not going to, so I'm going to be able to show you without me kind of getting in your way. I'm hoping I'm not going to be in your way too much, okay? I'm going to be right here, and so I'm going to do my masking tape trick the same way. I'm going to hold it up there, push it down to the wall, and it gives me a good place to start too, even when I do that. Okay, so now I'm like that. I just push it down. Got it out at an angle. You don't want to try to push this down with your finger, because then the masking tape bends and stuff and twists. So I don't want to go any further than that. Now I just swivel the masking tape roll. It goes right down exactly where you want it every time. And just do a little bit at a time. You're not doing a race. Don't try to get this so long that you try to line it up against the wall and it doesn't go. You see what I mean? I'm just doing a little bit at a time here. Okay? And I push it right up there. I don't know. Okay, yeah, you can see that. Okay, I'm going to lower it down now. Down next to here. I think you can see what I'm doing. I'll just get this out of the way. I haven't even taken these cover plates off yet because I'm just concerned about the ceiling right now and painting this door casing right here and this edge right here. I want to straight the paint up against the wall. And this is a good way to do it. Okay. Now I might have to stop and go to get that, because I want this edge straight up against the wall. Okay, from where the cover plate is. Okay, so now I can start I can start here again. I'm going to hold it up, and I'm going to hold this masking tape flat right up against there where it needs to go. Okay, there, I got a good starting point. And now I just hold it right up against there. I can't even really see the corner, but I don't have to, because the corner is right where my masking tape roll is. I know it's exactly where it needs to be, even though I can't see that edge. You see what I'm saying? Look at that. Okay? And I don't have to go any further than that, because I've already done this other little piece. Let's see, trust me, if you try to do one little piece at a time and hold it up there and get it exact, it just never seems to work. Now, right here, I'm just going to put another little piece down here, just because I want to get this edge, and it seems as though I want to get it done right. I'm just going to do this again. When I got it to there, I'm just going to pull down. Just take that and swivel it down. Swivel it down. It's a good way to do your masking tape. Trust me. You try that, and whenever you can do it that way from now on, you will. You will. It's nice and straight. There's no kinks in it. I know it's right up tight to the edge of my casing. And yeah, could I have cut that in around there with a cut-in brush? Yeah, I could, and I would have to be really super careful as I did it, and knowing that if I got a little bit on the wall, I'm going to cut in the wall at the last. But hey, this is going to let me do it perfectly. In fact, if I didn't have a cut-in paintbrush, I could use any regular paintbrush for that, and it would look like I used a cut-in paintbrush with an angle on it and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So even though I didn't use the blue masking tape because I didn't have enough, I used regular masking tape. It'll be fine, and I'll show you how to cut this ceiling in here in a minute. But isn't that a nice way to put that masking tape on, and how I put it on nice and straight there? Even if your ceiling's got a couple dips or bows or something, as long as you don't pull your masking tape roll out too far and just push your masking tape roll up to the top and roll it in, you know your masking tape is virtually going to be as straight as you could ever put it up at all. Okay, now granted, over here I didn't do that. As you can see, I put up one little piece, one little piece, one little piece, all the way along there, because I was having a hard time getting that, because I didn't have a flat surface, see, and so I wanted to get that top edge first, so I felt I needed to do it by hand. One little piece lined up the next piece to that and that and that and that, because it was a grout line, and the grout kind of dipped in just a hair. You know, flat ceilings, yes, I'll try as best I can using it off of the roll, just like I showed you, without cutting it any more than I have to. Obviously, once you start an inside corner, you've got to pull out a little bit so that you can get your first piece in there, pretty much. Or you can overlap it a little bit and kind of bend it in there and do whatever you want. But you see, I hope that I gave you some tips what to do and what not to do when putting your masking tape up there. I know my line is nice and straight up against there, don't I? Even though I couldn't even see what I was doing for the most part, I got that baby nice and straight. Hope you learned something. So now I'm ready to cut in now. All right. And because my line's not that far, you're not really going to see it as much as you would as if you had installed the paint on your ceiling with a 9-inch paint framing, you were 2 inches off the wall in certain areas. Oh yeah, that's fine. You just cut that in. Well, the more cut in that you do, the more likely you are to see the cut in, or putting your paintbrush strokes on there. If you don't put it on as nice and tight as you installed your paint, maybe you have to cut in an extra time because your paintbrush is pulling some off. In fact, I may have to cut in the ceiling twice, because you remember, if you were with me when I was installing this paint, I used a little 6-inch mini roller, and because I was changing this to a white ceiling instead of the tan ceiling. See, the ceiling was the same color as the walls from before. Okay, and if you're changing it out to white, then chances are you're going to have to put 2 coats. If you just put 1 coat and think, oh yeah, I can do it, and put it up there nice and even, it never works, trust me. I don't care if you use a 9-inch roller and a lambskin roller cover or what, okay? You're still probably going to see remnants and highlights and different stop-go marks and holidays and stuff like that on your ceiling, because you're changing it out to white. Okay, so when I cut this in, even if I've used thick paint, sometimes painters will use their paint and it's kind of thickening up in their paint tray or a paint bucket or something. They might think, oh, I can put that on there with just 1 coat, even though I put 2 coats out with a roller. I might be able to get this done with 1 coat with the paintbrush. Okay, you're not as good as a professional painter, and you're not going to know all this. Okay, so if you put on with 1 coat and it dries and you think you need to put a 2nd coat, I would say put a 2nd coat on. Okay, and what am I going to use to put that on? I told you I had a cut-in brush, and I do. I use this for this entire condo when I was cutting in all the ceilings and around the baseboards and the door frames and all that kind of stuff. I use this right here. That's what I use. It actually has an angle on it, and you can kind of hold it like this instead of having the handle stick way out. I'm using that. It's a 2-inch, but and this kind of, it's not real too thick, and it kind of tapers a little bit, especially when it's wet. So it's pretty easy to use. But you know, if you don't have a cut-in brush like this, and if you're not even sure if you want to do any painting after your first project, could you use a cheapo paintbrush like this? Yeah, you could use one like this. Or where's the other one I had? I had it. Oh, here it is. See, this is just a cheapo 2-inch throwaway paintbrush, and I've been using this for all kinds of stuff. And you know, it still works. Could I use that up there and have it look just like a professional painter when I get done? Yeah, because I did such a good job up there when I installed the paint with the mini roller. I don't have to go very far out from the ceiling, do I? Look at that. I mean, 3/4 of an inch all the way along there. And that's because I use my mini roller. And if you didn't watch that video, you should watch that. I show you how to get it on nice and straight like that without hitting the walls or anything. Look at that. How did I do it so good? And now, because I decided to put masking tape up there, when I put the paint on there, it doesn't, you know, I can be fairly sloppy to a certain extent if I wanted to. Or I'm still going to do the best I can. But do I really need a cut-in paintbrush up there? Couldn't I use a throwaway paintbrush? I call these throwaway paintbrushes, but I don't throw them away after I use them one time. See, this is a 3-inch. They even have a 4-inch like that. And, you know, obviously they're not as thick. They're not as nice as something like this. This will hold more paint. But in a bind, could I even do it with this one, even though some of these bristles aren't even straight anymore? Yeah, I could. if I wanted. It's going to take me more trips up, back and forth, because I'm going to use a paint tray, and I'm just going to dip here and then go up and do a little bit, come back down, dip again. If I had a little bucket that I wanted to hold, could I do the whole thing with that and have it look perfectly straight? Yeah, I could. Or I could do it, or I could do it with that. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna end up using that. Okay, but I'm just saying you could use something like this, or you know those big cheap paint brushes and the bristles are real fat on it. Could you get up there and do it with that? You probably could, but you know, I wouldn't recommend going with anything more than 2.5 inches. This is a 2-inch cut-in paintbrush. I have a 2.5-inch cut-in paintbrush, but don't use one of those 4-inch funky paint brushes that you get with a whole kit. You know, I never do that. I wouldn't want to do that, because even then you're going to get it way over. Plus, even though I have masking tape up there, it's still difficult to get that into corners and stuff like that. So for all those reasons, I'm just gonna use this one here. I may end up doing a couple different spots with this little one if I wanted, just to show you it's possible. Okay, so that's my next step. I've got to get in, mix up my paint, and I was using the semi-gloss, and I'm just using. I think it came right off the shelf without them putting anything more in here. I told them I wanted the whitest paint that they had, of which they didn't have to mix anything in it. That way, if I had to go back to the store, I could. If you ever get something off the shelf like that, make sure you have them mix it. I don't care if they say it's only been on the shelf for 3 days. You have them shake it, and they'll run it through their shaker for 5 minutes or however long. That's always a good thing to do that when you're getting paint right off the shelf. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna get my my little paint tray ready, and we'll be rocking and rolling in a minute. Now, I have not mixed up the paint yet, but I'm not going to show you that. I was just going to use my little paint tray like this, and yesterday I painted the walls so I wouldn't use that one. If I used any at all, I would use the white one I did the ceiling with, and that's all dry. I can pour the paint in there. But here's something else I could use, and I might use this. Remember I told you I've got a little bucket. Let's see, I could put paint in there, and lots of painters use that, and it cracks me up. I've seen a lot of painters, guys who maybe aren't painters, who are handymen, and they hold it like this, and after a while your wrist is going to get sore. Well, it's not designed to be held like that. It's designed to be held like that. See there, look at that. You just put your hand up in there and hold it. It's actually quite easy to do, and it's got a little magnet right there, and it's designed for, you can dip your paint, and then when you need to use that hand you can just go like that, see? And then that keeps your paintbrush from getting in there. And if I were to use that, I'd only put a little paint at the bottom. You don't want to put too much, because sometimes it's kind of hard to see as you're poking it in there. You don't want to get your paint too high up on the bristles. Like if I use this brush here, I would not want to put that much paint in here. I would only want to put a layer that's about that thick at the bottom, in case I decide to go all the way down. It's only going to get here. On a good paintbrush, you don't want to get your bristles painted all the way up too high. Then it's harder to clean all your bristles, and then after a while, this end of your paintbrush up here gets stiff, and then pretty soon it gets stiffer and stiffer, and pretty soon you've only got a little bit left if you keep your paintbrush for for a few years, you know. And in fact, this is a few years old already, but I try to keep it as clean as possible, and I keep it in the little container and stuff. So, you know, I could do that if I want. Or I could just use a little thing like this. This was a to-go container for food Momi had one day, and it was right when I was painting. I thought, hey, I'll just use that. And when I was doing baseboard, I could put a little bit of paint in here, or if painting just a door jamb or something, or if she was helping me, I'd fill this little thing up for her, and she could do that and wipe it off. And I could do that. I could hold it like this if I want. It's only a little bathroom. I wouldn't use this all day long cutting in on a ladder or something, because my wrist would get sore. I would use something like this. See? And the last time I used this, I didn't clean it out, but I used semi-gloss in here, so I can put some more paint in there without cleaning all of this stuff out and stuff, and I could use that. Okay, so there's a few options for you. And look at this. This is just an artist brush. If after you get done cutting in and everything, your 2 coats, and then once you take your masking tape off, if you see a couple little spots where you have to just dip in a little bit and you're not really trained too well to use a cut-in brush and to do cut-in, you just use something like that if you wanted. You know, just to touch up a few different spots. And I've done that before using this, and it works out really good. If you're doing, you know, just 1 or 2 little things. I did a little caulking on one little screw hole in a wall, and I got all the caulking cleared off all the way around. Instead of using a big paintbrush and slapping the paint up there, I got just a little artist brush, and I just did the circle, and it blended in way better than if you take a paintbrush and go like that. Then you can see the flash mark afterwards. Trust me, you'll see the flash marks if you look at the paint. If you look at the wall on a shiny day, sunny day, look at it at an angle, you'll see exactly where your touch-up is. I don't care if the paint is the same exact color. It just never works. Okay, so next step is getting up there and starting to do the cut-in. Okay, I have not done anything yet. I've just put a little paint in, and I'm just going to go for it. I'm using my little cut-in brush. I've got a little paint in that little tray. And see, because I have that masking tape up, I don't have to crane my neck back too terribly forward. To put it up there, because I've got that masking tape. See? I mean, it would be really tricky to do that without the masking tape. I think I could have done it, but I figured, I'm gonna do it this way. And you don't really want to soak it right at the angle. Right up in there, I probably put too much, kind of at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to put too much paint in there. That way thinking, oh, the masking tape will hold it and stuff. Even if you're using the blue masking tape, you might find that your paint's going to kind of get in underneath that edge, and I really don't want to see that where this was, because that was grout. I could clean it off, you know, if I get any on there afterwards, if I have to, but I'm going to try to get it on there, you know, up at the angle like that, and try not to get any more on the masking tape than I have to. You see what I'm saying? And I can tell already, no matter what I do, I'm gonna need 2 coats of paint. I don't care how thick of paint I could have had. put up there, it's going to take 2 coats. And then I'll check it. And if I have to put a little bit more up there, I'll put a little bit more up there. Hey, no problem. Because I can do it. Because I've got that masking tape up there. See? And this small little paintbrush is nice and easy to work with, man. I don't want to go over that edge any more than I have to. Because of the variation that you may get from your paintbrush strokes as opposed to the paint roller strokes. That's all I can do. I can't even put it on there any thicker if I wanted to. And so the trick with using a tray, holding it, is making sure that you're watching what you're doing so you don't tip this crooked or something and have it start dribbling on the floor, on your clothes or whatever. Okay. Yeah, I was initially toying not to install, to apply the masking tape, and it would have been a lot more difficult to do it, for sure. Okay, and I gotta set my paintbrush here. I'm trying to do it and keep the paint off me to a minimum, and so I've got oh, how's I going to do that? Oh, I remember. It's not a big rush. Don't start, you know, trying to contort yourself on the in the tub, on your ladder and stuff. You know, we're not racing anybody, right? I got my craft paper down here. Yeah, I probably should have used that other little container, but I didn't for my paint. That's okay. I'm okay. I can do it this way. You see, I mean, I'm getting a little bit on the masking tape, but that's what the masking tape is for. But I'm just trying to keep it off as much as I can and try not to put it at too much of a 45-degree angle right up against there, because no matter what you do, if you do that, I don't care if you put blue masking tape up there, the green masking tape, that frog tape, it's gonna get behind there if you pack it on there at an angle. And that goes for around door casings and baseboard. Your masking tape is only so good. You know what I mean? If you're gonna start saturating the corner like that with your paintbrush and just go whoosh like that, you want to keep it up straight, as straight as you can. Okay. And with this little hand one, it's nice and easy to do it too. I'm just kind of tapping it in there, and see, I can just right along there. And because I put the paint on the ceiling with my 6-inch paint roller as opposed to a 9-inch, I only have to do a little bit around the edge. If you're doing a 9-inch, you had 2 inches, you can't just put it on like that. Now you have to brush it like that, and now you're going to get at least 2 inches, and then you're going to have to taper that in. So now you've got paint all the way over here, you know, 2.5–3 inches. So anywhere beyond the 3/4 inch line, you've got a third coat of paint. And then when I do, and because I have to do 2 coats here, I'm going to have to put a second coat on that. Now you're going to have 4 coats of paint. 2 extra coats of paint from 3/4 on over. Do you see what I'm saying? And once you do that, when that dries and you look at it, sometimes you can see it. And you think, oh, I cut in and I used too much paint on my paintbrush when I was cutting in. And it's not really the case. You just still only put 2 coats on, but it's because you had to go out so far. Do you see what I'm saying? So another good reason why I use the 6-inch and I use the paint, the frame, the painter's frame, as my edge to get a nice straight line up there when I put it on. See, there's always a reason for everything, it seems like, you know. So I'm gonna keep it rolling, and I'm gonna do this little section over here to a certain extent, just so you can see a little bit more. Okay. Very simple to do this, see? You see, that's why I put that masking tape up there. I don't have to get much on my paintbrush. I'm just kind of dabbing it on there like that. And, you know, that's it. I don't have to put any more paint than that on that little section right there, because I can't get it any thicker than that anyways. And you don't want to go back over your paint. I couldn't like just go over this other like right now, because your first coat of cut-in is just going to kind of slide off, and it's not going to work very well. So what I do is, once I get done with all my cut-in on one coat, lots of times, depending how much cut-in you're doing, you'd be surprised. This stuff is not going to take that long to dry. By the time you get all your cut-in done and you wait just a few minutes, you're almost ready to start your cut-in again, and start in the very first place where you started before. And that should be dry, but you want it to be dry, okay? You don't want it to be tacky to put the next coat up, because then what's going to happen is it may start sliding and pulling some of your first coat of paint off. And the other reason why you don't want to put, you're trying not to put too much paint on your masking tape. You don't want to build up that edge too much, okay? Because if you can imagine, if I put that on at an angle like this, just oh yeah, that's fine, and then put the next coat on that way too, I've got that much more paint on that inside corner, especially for the fact that it's semi-gloss paint, right? And so when I get ready to pull the masking tape up, I don't want to have the masking tape pull up any of the paint that I just put on if you build up that inside corner on top of your masking tape. You see what I'm saying? And so it's going to be, I'm going to have to decide when to take the masking tape off. I don't want to leave it up there too terribly long, but yet I don't want to pull it off too soon afterwards. But you know, you just want to be careful when you're pulling the masking tape off. You don't want to just grab it and just pull on it. You may have to start it at one corner and then kind of pull the top edge and kind of roll it down a little bit. And as you go, do it kind of slow. And if you see it kind of wanting to lift anything, you may have to take a sharp sheetrock knife or a sharp putty knife and maybe kind of just mark the ceiling a little bit, just where you see some thick little bits of paint that you left up there when you're cutting in. Do you see what I mean? When you're pulling that masking tape off. So hey, you're gonna have to be careful. It's just all about being aware of what you're doing and doing it right. Okay, I'm gonna keep going above this door, and I'll be right back and show you a little bit more cutting in over here. I don't want to start cutting in over there and showing you that until I finish what I'm doing over here, because it's not a good idea to start and stop, you know, as you start going. You see what I mean? Okay, I'll just show you a little bit more, just to make sure you didn't think I got lucky or anything. Okay. Now if you can reach it without getting up on your ladder all the way, go ahead, you know, and I'm just doing a little bit at a time. Okay. Make sure you get over to the edge of that masking tape all the way. And I like to, you know, in some places you may have to put your paintbrush at an angle a little bit, and right at the end, if you want, you can try to go over it a little bit more with a little bit more paint, but not very much. I can still see that I'm gonna have to put a second coat for sure on there. You don't want to slide too much of your paint off though. You still want to get on as much as you can, but without going over too far. Okay? See? Well, masking tape comes in handy once again. Like that. And now I can maybe backhand this up. I couldn't paint this like this and cut in, backhanding it at this angle on my ladder without the masking tape. I think I just hit the wall right there. Look at that. Okay, I got it off. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. You still have to take your time and do it right, okay? And still be aware of what you're doing. Okay? Checking to make sure I don't have anything on my feet. And I'll keep going over here and finishing it off for the first coat. Here's something I wanted to show you. I'm all done with my first coat, and I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer. Okay, so I don't really want to rinse this out. I could rinse it out, but see, if I rinse this out, then I'm gonna have to wait until this dries all the way before I get into it with my paint again. So I've got some plastic here, and it's just from a plastic bag, and I already used it for my roller. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it up in this plastic. I'm going to put a little bit more paint on here. On the edge, all the way up on the bristles. And now I'm going to wrap that right here. Just that far, that's it. And I'm going to push on it and make sure it's tight, okay? And I can leave that, boom, right like that for 15-20 minutes until I'm ready to start cutting in again, okay? That way the bristles aren't going to be wet, and I couldn't just leave that out in the air for 15-20 minutes or half an hour. It would get all dry. So if I cleaned it all off, you can see how, because there's so many bristles in that, it would take quite a while for it to dry. And it wouldn't be a good idea to say, it's drying up, it's still wet. I'm gonna put it in my paint and start cutting it again. Well, it's gonna knock your paint, body of your paint down, and once you get ready to put your second coat on, maybe your second coat doesn't cover all the way for the first wall or so. And that's because your paintbrush is still wet. Now see, I went ahead and I painted the edge of this. I'm gonna take you off up here. And I painted the top of that edge, and that was still the tan color of the walls because they didn't paint it white. And then it was kind of a dirty white from before, the door frames, and because I painted all the new frames, I wanted it as white as possible to give a standout from the walls and to make the baseboard and the trim, the door casings and the doors kind of pop. It's almost the same color as the light switches, see? And so that's another reason why I wanted to paint that edge. And see, I got it all the way up there. It's nice. That's only one coat, but had I have done really super good, some of that paint would be on the wall no matter what, and especially down here. I was able to get it in there and kind of pooch it in at an angle, but you can see how I'm over that far. Now if I didn't have the masking tape, I would be that far over when I get ready to cut in the wall color. I might be able to get all the cut in done on one coat because I was able to do all the walls in one coat, but as it was on the top, I had to put two coats. If the ceiling would have been white to begin with, I could have gotten by with just one coat. Even if it was a flat white, I might have been able to get by with one coat with one coat of semi-gloss. But because I have, if I would have put that on there, instead of cutting in once on this wall around the door, I'd probably have to cut it in twice. Do you see what I'm saying? Or 3 times, depending how thick you get it on there. Okay, and so now it's just about a waiting game to see how long I'm going to have to wait. And see, I'll get you up there. See, no matter what I do, there's no way I could have cut that in with one coat of paint. There's just no way that would have happened, and that's okay, you know. Get up there and put a second coat on there and it should be fine. Now if it on the second coat, if there's still a little bit of that showing, then after I get done cutting it in, then I would look at it, and if I decided I needed to put just a little bit more, maybe I could dip my paintbrush in and kind of wipe on there. But hey, I'll do whatever I have to get rid of that line when I get done cutting in, because I've got that masking tape on. You saw it didn't take me that long to cut this in. Okay, it's just waiting, and I'll probably wait 15-20 minutes or so and check it out. Should I put my cover on top of that? I probably should have, but I'm gonna leave it like that. I'll turn my construction light off, because the more light in here, the more heat, and then this could start drying up. I don't want to put any skin in there. And what I could do is I could have cleaned this out with my paintbrush and put most of it back in there. You know, but I'm gonna leave it in the shade. I'll leave it in the shade over there, and I think that's gonna be okay. And you know what? That's gonna thicken up just a little bit, and I might need just a hair more thickness to it when I'm installing that second coat, so I don't have to put a third coat on. See, when you're cutting in semi-gloss to semi-gloss, it's hard to get a good coverage like flat to flat or eggshell to eggshell, because your paint wants to slide. And because the ceiling was a semi-gloss already, there's only so much paint you can put on with a paintbrush as opposed to a roller at any one time. Does that make sense? So I'll let this fully dry, put another coat on this whole thing, and I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll have my construction light on. It's important to have light on there to make sure that everything's blended in. If you think you need to put a little bit more on, a third coat, put a third coat on there. Doesn't take that long to put it up, and you can do it, and it's going to be nice because you've got the masking tape up there. All right. Now, I haven't been off the ceiling very long at all from that last little video clip. And I felt the paint in the corner where I started, right in there. And it's virtually dry to the touch right now. I could, if I was in a big old rush, I could start again and go there and work that back wall and then come out this way and, you know, work it back the same way that I did before and probably be okay. But because I'm not in that big of a rush, I'm going to give it probably another, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And because you saw, I'm only putting on that much, and you can only put on so much semi-gloss over semi-gloss. And when you're doing the cut end, you'd be surprised how short of a time it really takes before that stuff starts skinning up and drying. You don't have to wait until the paint is dry on the back side all the way, but you want the front to be nice and dry to the touch so that the top skin that's showing is dry. Then you can put your second coat on. Do you see what I mean? Because even when you use semi-gloss paint, when you're painting door frames and stuff, is there a right and wrong way to paint door frames? Yes, of course there is. Because there's so many edges and nooks and crannies and lines and all that kind of stuff. You can't just start in one spot and then think you're gonna, I'm just gonna do the whole frame from here all the way over, and I'm gonna start right here and come down. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work. You can't blend your paint in properly and all that. Because semi-gloss paint, once you get it up there, you'd be surprised how long, less of a time, you have it up there before you can not blend it in anymore with the paintbrush before it starts wanting to drag. And if you've ever painted door frames, semi-gloss, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, I've got a video that shows you how to paint door frames on my channel. If you go to my main channel page, click on playlists, scroll down to painting, and it will be in there somewhere. All my painting videos will be there, as a matter of fact. Okay, because hey, whenever I do a job, I want to do it right. And more times than not, I make videos of it and post it on my channel under the painting, because I never know what I'm going to say next, what's going to be included and what's not going to be included. Okay, so look for them on my channel, and if you want to be a better painter, or if you don't know how to paint at all and you've got a bathroom to paint or a bedroom to paint or a door casing to paint or a door, let's say just a door to paint, I'll show you how to paint those, or the baseboards, how to get the baseboards looking nice and pretty, or window stools and aprons, or the top of this. Is there a right and wrong way to paint this? Absolutely. The right and wrong way to do just about anything. Okay? So I'll be back to you in a little bit, and I'm going to do the second coat here, and I'm going to wait, like I said, another 15 minutes, and I'll put this second coat on. Be right back to you. Okay, I just got done applying the second coat of cut in around there, and it's still drying, so I can't really show it up close to you for us to make a decision together. Do I need to put any more on there or not? And I remembered to do the top edge of that door casing and that left-hand edge, and I went all the way down. That edge is going to look really nice after it's all said and done, and somebody might think, how did he get that painted so good up next to the wall? Well, the trick is you do that side cut in first before you do the wall. You always do the wall last for doing your cut in and everything. And now you know the reason why I put the masking tape down on there too, to make it that much easier to get it all up in there. And I'm gonna leave that masking tape on there actually. Once that edge dries, it's not gonna take very long. And see, if I end up not having to do a third coat of cut in, see I put this underneath there, underneath raw plastic, and got that pushed down, and it worked out fine for the second coat. I'll make a determination whether or not I need to zip around here again. It only took me 10 minutes or so. If I have to zip around there again or not, or if I don't, then I'll be ready. Take advantage every time you have your paint out. Okay, I still got a little bit of paint left in there. I still got my paintbrush wet, and then that's when I'll go ahead and paint this door casing, like I said, from here to there, and I can just zip it around to the edge. I don't really want to have to touch this edge if I don't have to. Okay, then this thing is going to look really good. I'm going to end up taking that strike plate off too. Okay, and like I say, I've got masking tape. I've got masking tape underneath here. See, so when I get ready to paint that, actually I can just leave this down here like that and paint it. And same thing, I've got everything all set up for that one too. Okay. And see, what I could have done is, when I had this paint out, I could have went down into here, but believe it or not, did you know that there's enough room there for me to get my cut-in paintbrush in there when I get all done painting the door casing. I'm going to end up painting the door casing first, I guess. Is there a right or wrong? No, not really, but I'll do the door casing first from here to there, in case the edge of my paintbrush gets over and nicks the wall or something. But this is not my cut-in brush, but if you can imagine this was my cut-in brush, I would just get it in there, and it's going to be that wide, and it's going to go right down in there. You know, I'll start it up there, kind of at an angle, and I'll have to be careful, and I'll get it right down in like that. And I should be able to do it without hitting the door casing. And worst case scenario, if I hit the door casing, I'll have a damp sponge and I'll wipe it off. Easy. Okay. Painting really is not that hard if you just take it step by step. Don't be in a rush. If you think you're going to get this bathroom done in a day, over the weekend, you've got something else coming for you, because it's never going to work. I don't care how good you think you are, it's just not going to work that way. Take your time, do things right. I mean, I spent a lot of time just cleaning off this grout, because the paint was on some of the grout, and on some places it was, some places it wasn't. I spent, I don't know, an hour cleaning off the old paint off of the grout, so that when I cut this in, you're still going to see that little bit of a grout edge all the way around here. And I looked at my other bathroom, and in the other bedroom, and when they painted, they ended up painting right to this edge. Okay, showing no grout. So when I get ready to paint over there, guess what? I'm going to paint just like they did, showing no grout. And maybe I'll still mask off from the edge of this way, and do that. I don't have to clean off the grout. I'm going to look at that and make a determination, because if you will recall, I actually had to clean off a little bit at the edge of the grout that was showing here. Well, in the other bathroom, there is no grout showing. They painted it. And so you just have to look at your existing conditions and try to match up. See that nice straight grout line there? It's going to look just like that when I get done painting. And it didn't look exactly like that when I first got ready to paint, because I had to take a putty knife and a little screwdriver and kind of clean off, and a little wire brush, and clean off some of the remnants of this paint because they didn't get it exactly how I wanted to see it. And so lots of times when you're going over somebody else's work, and if you think, oh, I'm just going to paint this bathroom, and the bathroom's 15 years old, I'm just going to paint it just like how the last painter. Hey, good luck with that, because that's what it's going to look like when you get done. If you don't care about that, and it doesn't look 100% and you're fine with that, fine. I'm not fine with that. When I do a job, I like to make it look like a professional did it, and look like I don't have any overages. Because if I left some of that crummy old paint on the grout here and up here and a smear up there, and paint a nice straight line, when somebody looks at that, what are they going to see? They're going to see that and they're going to think, yeah, he said he painted it. It looks really good. It looks like crap. Look, there's extra paint over here and over here and over here, and the cut-in line isn't straight, and there's a ridge of paint over here. Well, and they don't know that there was a ridge of paint from before, and they would have seen that had I not scraped it off with the putty knife first. You see what I mean? So lots of stuff having to do with, is there a right and wrong way to do just about anything? Yes, the answer is of course, yes. Good grief, Charlie Brown. This paint is almost dry. I think it's still drying, but I can still see that it looks like it needs to be cut in again. Look at that. I can see it. And I don't know how well it's going to show up on video right there. But, and I can see right over in there a little bit. And I'm going to let it dry all the way, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to zip around here a third time. And I'm okay with that, because I've got my masking tape up there and I've got my paint brush ready. And so I'm gonna go the extra mile, and I would do that for anybody. This is for myself, where we're living, and I could pull it up and say, hey, screw it, I'm done. I've done 2 coats, I'm not going any further than that. I'm not wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. But no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let it dry all the way. I'm gonna let it dry for another 15, 20 minutes again. Maybe a little longer this time, because I've got 2 coats up there now, and that second coat might take a little bit longer to dry this time because it's going on new paint as opposed to the 17-year-old paint, if that makes any sense. And I'm probably going to zip around again if it's even questionable, and I have a feeling it's going to be questionable. I think for most people they probably leave it. But I'm not going to leave it, because I'm all set up. I've got all the masking tape up there. And you saw how it's really not going to take me that long. It takes me longer to set the video camera up in a couple spots and talk about it than just going in there and doing it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to do with the third coat around that. And then at that point, I'll get ready to do this door jamb as well. Okay? Because once I get done with the white paint in here, I want to be done with the white paint. I don't think I'll have to get into it anymore. Then I can clean up, wash up, all that kind of stuff. And if I was really in a big rush, could I possibly do all the cut in today for the walls? Yeah, I could. I just wouldn't put any masking tape up on that top of the ceiling because that paint's is very, very fresh. And by the way, if I were, when I get ready to cut these walls in, am I going to put masking tape up on the ceiling? I don't know. But if I do, I might want to put the blue tape. I might want to put the blue tape as opposed to my regular masking tape. Blue tape is supposed to keep it so that it's not going to stick and get sticky and pull down. But see, I wouldn't have it up there for very long anyways. And so I could get by with the other masking tape, but then obviously I would want to wait and let this paint dry and cure overnight before I painted and cut in these walls. So am I going to cut in these walls today? No. The answer is no, I'm not going to. I'm not in a big old fat rush. Just get a little bit, make my videos, clean up, all that kind of stuff. And one step at a time, get my job done, okay? And that's how you should do it too. Don't be rushing around. Do it one step at a time, and you'll get it done, and you'll get it done right if you spend a little bit extra time. You know, it doesn't take that much longer to do things right than it does to do things wrong. You know what I mean? So spend a little bit of extra time, have a little pride in your work, because hey, whatever the paint looks like when you're done, that's your signature, baby. Do you want it to be a good signature, or do you want it to be bad? Your choice. You know, whenever I do a project, I always think how I could have done it differently, let's say. And I'm already looking, and I know I'm going to have to zip around here again. Okay? And hey, it is what it is, because I want this to look right. I thought, how else could I do this? And I'm looking up here, and I used to do white ceilings like this without any masking tape up or anything, and where it hit the ceiling to a wall, and the wall is going to be a different color, I would just spooge my roller cover right into the corner and letting the paint come down onto the wall yay far, you know, with the mini roller, and just push it up in there so that I wouldn't have to cut the ceiling in with a paintbrush like this. And I thought, hey, you know what? If I have another ceiling, and in fact, I might try that. I might try that in my next bathroom. I have another bathroom up here to do. Maybe, just maybe, I should run masking tape all the way around the ceiling like this before I paint the ceiling. How about that? With my roller, then when I put my roller up there, I can get it right up next to the edge, let's say. Do you see what I mean? And I can virtually get 98% of the walls done that way and cut in. Worst case scenario, if I don't want to get too much into an inside corner, let's say I could jump up there with just a little paintbrush and kind of fill it in when just as I'm getting done with the paint roller. Do you see what I mean? Then I could just pull the masking tape off. Voila! No cutting in the ceiling. I think that's the ticket. I think I'm going to do that on this next ceiling. And see, most of the time you're not going to have white semi-gloss ceilings to where you're going to have to cut in the edge a little bit, depending what color was on the ceiling from before and all that kind of stuff. You're only going to have small rooms like here, or a closet if you want a closet with white semi-gloss paint in it, or a pantry with white semi-gloss paint in it, or a half bathroom with white semi-gloss ceiling. You could do it that way. I think that's the ticket, because then I would pull the masking tape off after with the paint roller. Then I don't have to see any flash marks where the paintbrush was to the paint roller. And if I get the paintbrush marks too much paint on there, you'll stand back and you can see, oh yeah, I can see where he did that. He cut that in and it's cut in 1.5 2 inches off the wall, and I can see it because there's more paint there, thicker, with him putting it on with the paintbrush around the edges than the paint roller was on the rest of the ceiling, let's say. Now I wouldn't do that on a flat ceiling paint, but like for a bathroom like that, I think that's what I'm going to do. And there's your tip. There's your tip for the day. If you're watching this, had you not been watching this video, you wouldn't know how to do it that way, would you? Because see, up here, this ceiling here, this is just flat, white, standard flat ceiling paint is called. And because the walls, I put a eggshell finish on there. I just ran the white paint over pretty much as close as I could with the roller, and if I got white paint on the wall, I was like, hey, I don't really care, because when I put this on and cut it in, it's going to cover, and it did on most of it, but in certain areas I had to kind of go around and check it, and in a few spots I had to put 2 coats of paint cutting in certain areas where I got too much of the white over on the wall. Does that make sense? But I wasn't gonna think, do I put masking tape around the whole thing? I mean, yeah, I could have put masking tape around this whole ceiling and done that too, and still got a nice straight edge on there, and done it that way without having to do any cut in whatsoever. Masking tape, hey, masking tape could be my friend, and it could be yours too. So I'm gonna zip around here again, and this is 2 coats of paint that's already up there, and you can still see up in there that I've got to put some more up there because this was a white semi-gloss, and like I say, you can only put so much on there, and it wants to slide off your paintbrush and slide off the ceiling. There's only so much you can put on at any one go with the paintbrush. Okay? And so, lots of places I don't need it, but in other places I can see I do need it. So I'm going to run a 3rd coat. But my loss is your gain, and it's my gain too. I never would have thought of trying to do it this way. I would have tried to cut in without the masking tape. That's what I was planning on doing. That would have taken me forever. Especially where the grout line is in there. And granted, once I pull that up, there's probably going to be a couple spots here and there where I'm going to have to clean it off because it might have gone up inside the top edge of the masking tape. That's why when you put this masking tape on, you want to make sure it's all nice and tight on the ceiling. But if I get a little bit of that white coming down through onto the wall, because I still have to cut the walls in, and the walls on the inside, and you saw where I still have to cut it in, here and here and all that kind of stuff. I'm still gonna do up in there. I'll just cut that in freehand with my paintbrush. But over here, I'm probably going to put masking tape over that grout line. I don't want to really do that freehand. I don't feel like it. But I should be able to get by doing that with just 1 coat on the walls. But I think I've just figured out a quicker way to do white ceilings from now on, especially if they're low ceilings. Put the masking tape around first, and then using my 6-inch, I got a 3/4 inch snap roller. I could have used a 1/2 inch or 3/8 snap roller or something, but 3/4 inch will still be fine. And I'm going to end up doing that on my next bathroom, and I think that's the ticket for me from now on when I do white semi-gloss ceiling. So yeah. Okay, I just ran a 3rd coat of paint around there, and I'm glad this happened as it happened. because it got me to thinking, how can I do this different next time? And now you know what I'm going to do next time. Yeah, you'll have to watch that video and see how well I do with that, and I'm sure it's going to come out good. And as for plastic bags, you know, the red, I should have been careful and not wrapped anything with the red, because when I got all done, I happened to notice on there that some of the red came off of the plastic onto my white paintbrush. I had to wipe that off and clean that off. Use clear plastic, or if you have a bag, make sure it doesn't have any writing on it, especially red or blue or something like that, and just cut out the clear plastic bag. You don't need a whole lot to wrap around a paintbrush, okay? And so now I'm gonna let that dry, and then once it's dry beyond dry to the touch, then I probably should take that masking tape down. I'm thinking, do you really want to leave that masking tape up there all night? Probably not. But again, if I take it down too soon, if I have any built up paint along that inside corner, I'm going to have to be careful about that. Because if I just do it when it's dry to the touch, maybe the backside of the paint on top of the edge, towards the top of the edge of the masking tape, it might still be wet there, and I might not want to mess with it and start pulling it down, get it all on my hands. I might want to wait a couple hours, and then I'll start pulling this off in one corner, be real careful, and then I'll have to make sure I'm careful about just pulling it off. You don't want to just start pulling it off, especially because it's a semi-gloss paint. Yeah, and now you've seen I've got 3 coats of semi-gloss paint right up next to that paint, right up next to the masking tape, and if I'm not careful, when I pull that masking tape up, once the paint started drying, it's going to get kind of rubbery, and so you don't want to pull it and then have some of your paint start pulling off your ceiling where you cut in. Do you see what I mean? So I have to be careful with that, and if I have to lightly score it, I would probably only do it with a drywall, not a sheetrock knife, because I don't want to cut a line. Remember I was saying I'd do it with a sheetrock knife? No, don't do it with a sheetrock knife. Just do it with a sharp putty knife, sharp edge putty knife. And see, I got one that I've used so much it's gotten round. I could just take that up there and lightly score it along there if I need to in certain areas. I'll just have to be careful as I'm pulling that masking tape down, okay? And don't leave the masking tape up there too long. Here's the other thing. I had just painted this wall the other day, so you don't want to leave that masking tape up there too long, because when you get ready to pull it up, it might start pulling up the top edge of your fresh paint that you have on your wall. And another reason why you probably should use the blue masking tape instead of regular masking tape. But you know, if I take it down in a couple hours, I should be fine. If I left it up there for 2 or 3 days and then thought, oh yeah, I should pull that down, then you might start getting an issue, okay? So remember that. What is my project today? I'm going to be painting just this door trim from here down to there. This was a bathroom. When we moved in, I didn't have enough time to finish painting the bathroom, so when I painted the door casing and the doors, I painted the doors out in the garage, and when I painted this door casing, I painted it all the way on the outside, all the way over to about here, knowing that I was going to have to do this later and cutting in the top. I've already cut in the top. I put masking tape along the top edge and the left-hand edge, and I even got that top edge. And it's best to do that whenever you're painting door frames, because the white paint, this white paint is slightly different than the old white paint that they had on there. You see what I mean? And so now I want to get in there and paint that, and I'm just using a little cut-in brush, 2-inch cut-in brush. I just put a little bit of paint in a little container here, and all I'm going to do is one coat, and I'm going to, like this top rail, I'm going to end up doing the whole top rail from left to right, the entire thing, before I do anything else. Because with semi-gloss paint, it starts wanting to skin up if you're not careful. But on this edge, I'm going to go ahead and do this corner, you know. And I figured since I did the edge, I just leave that masking tape up there until I get done. And with semi-gloss, you know, I had already prepped these door frames and lightly sanded them and did some touch up and caulked them and made sure that the doors were plumb, and I had to fix some sagging doors and stuff before I did the doors and adjusted everything. I did all that before I took the doors and painted them and stuff, okay? Now, you want to blend that stuff in, and see, I don't want to go over to the far left again because the paint will have already started to skin, and I'm liable to pull an edge. And if you've ever worked with semi-gloss paint, you know what I'm talking about when you're doing door frames, okay? I'm just getting out of that edge, and now I can finish this, and I'm just going down to there, and now see, I can go back and forth that way. I see one little spot right there I'm going to get. Okay, that's all I'm going to do on the top. I'm not, like I say, I'm not going to go all the way over to there again because the paint is already starting to skin. There's only so much you can do on the door jamb and the casings before it starts skinning up with the paint. So you got to kind of move quickly, evenly. And I took the door off. I even took the hinges off because I want to get this whole edge. You can't do that if you leave the hinge on. Oh yeah, I'll just paint around that. Way easier to do it this way. Okay. A little bit more paint on there. And now start where you left off, and then I can taper that. You know, I'm only putting on so much paint until I feel comfortable. Now I can kind of start from the top and come down. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do right there until I move down. I'll get you. You can see me. Okay. I'm not going to go all the way up. I can see where I ended up because I have my construction light on and so forth. And with this little brush, man, it makes it so easy. Now I can take it there and just go up, you know, where I blend it in. Once you know you got enough paint on there, you can blend it. And see, I can't go all the way up anymore because it's going to mess up that top bit I've already put on. But it doesn't matter because as long as I know that, now see, you saw I only did so much. Up, like that, and that little section's done. Okay, and so it's not a race, and you don't have to You don't have to go any more than that, and just only put on so much paint. Don't try to stretch it out too far. Try to do it about the same each time. Okay? I don't need to fill up that much on my paintbrush. I'm only going to go to there. I could go all the way down if I want, but then I've got to get some more paint in there to get it all nice and even. See, with semi-gloss, you got to get your paint even as you're going. Okay, and I gotta move that. I had some craft paper on the ground, and now it's moved a little bit because I've been in here working, and I've got the I'll just do that. I put masking tape all the way down, so I can do that. That's fine. And I can see where I left off right in there. And with this little paintbrush, you can hold the paintbrush however you want because it doesn't have a handle. And the handle is rubber. Oh, it only cost less than $10 at the store, hardware store. Okay. You don't have to be a professional painter. Newsflash. And I put masking tape down on the floor, and when I get all done, it's going to look like a professional did this. And I'm not a professional painter by any means. That's why I'm making these videos for you. Okay? To show you if I can do it, you can do it. Right? Okay? There. Just like that, and I am done with that. I've got to do the other side, this left-hand side. And I don't know if I'm going to show you all that because I'm kind of in the way. I'm going to keep running the camera, I guess, and get you moved here. Maybe you can see a little bit of what I'm going to do here. Okay. And I had lightly sanded these, and these frames were like 17 years old. And so I lightly sanded them, and I caulked them anywhere where I needed to before. And see, I'm not gonna hit anything over there. If anything, I can just hit that where I started. Okay. If you got 17-year-old door frames like these, you wanna. I cleaned them with some simple green. I think in certain areas where the hinges were. Lots of times the hinges will spit black stuff on there. I did a really good job with that. And I cleaned them, then I lightly sanded them, and then I checked them to see if I needed to do anything else to them before I painted them. So, you know, it's like it's all in the prep. It really is all in the prep when you're talking about painting. Okay. I know I should put a little bit more paint there. I'm trying to get a nice even coat on there. And see from here up, blend it. You see a little bit right there, up. Because your paint strokes are going to show, and your transitions between this little bit that I painted and that little bit and the next little bit will show if you don't finish your transitions like how I'm doing. Okay. I'm trying to keep my head out of the way. I don't want to go any further than that. I could go down further, but I can tell on my paintbrush there's only so far I can go depending on how much I dip in here. And if I do it about the same dipping, I know I can go down maybe a foot or so and get it all nice. And then I can go flat ways that way, or I can keep going this direction. Okay, like that. And I go down some more. Let's see if I can't get this finished. I'll try to stay out of your way as best I can. Okay. I'm only trying to get the same amount of paint as I did before and go down about the same. And I know the body, the full body of the paint is about the same all the way, see? Now I can take that and blend it up or blend it down, a light touch, and then I know my transitions are gonna be fine. I call it transition between each paint bit that I put on the wall, okay? Take that down here. I want to be careful where I put that in case I spill. I don't want it spilled way over there, right? Okay, I'm only going to go down about a foot or so. See there, I think I've gone too far, and so I'm gonna get myself a little bit more paint so I can finish this bit here. Okay, and I'm just trying to do this edge from here to there. Okay, there. That should be fine until I go some more. That time I'm only going to go, 8 inches, let's say, depending on how much paint I put on the paintbrush. Finish that far. It's not rocket science, and we're not in a race. And if I was painting the whole door jamb, I'd be doing it the same way. Okay, that craft paper moved on me, and I'm glad I put the masking tape all the way down on the floor. And so now, let's see how I'm going to do this. I can just work from bottom up. I'm not going to go all the way down, even though I probably could have, but I'm doing just about the same amount of paint as each time. Okay. Now I can go down there, and I can get my paintbrush right in there, the angle of the dangle, and finish her off. I was contemplating whether or not to even paint this door frame, this casing, because it was fairly close paint color as everything else, but I thought, it deserves to be painted the same. It'll match everything, and I'll know that I did a 100% job, and when that dries, I won't have any discoloration from the other color of the white on the paint jam or any of that. This thing is going to look all nice and pretty, and once I get done cutting in, my next thing I've got to do in this bathroom, I got to cut in the walls and all that kind of stuff. But so this is going to allow this bit to dry and cure for a couple days before I put the door back on and the hinges and the strike plate. I even took the strike plate out. And it's always nice to do that. Don't try to Mickey Mouse it and leave the hinges on and think, oh, I'll be careful and I'll get it back behind there. You're never going to get it 100%, okay? You're just not. And if you're not in that big of a rush, do it, take it off and do it right so that you don't get any paint on your door or your hinges or your strike plate or any of that kind of stuff. I went the extra mile, took that off. That thing's been sitting there. That door's been sitting against the wall for a few days now. And it can sit there until I'm done with this job. And once I get done with this entire job, it's going to look 100% professional, like a professional painter did it, and will look like I was never there. That's what you want when you're painting. Now see, I haven't been off this that long, and this is already skinning up. If I were to touch this, it's probably dry. I'm not going to touch it, but it's probably dry to the touch because it doesn't take very long for this stuff to start skinning up. Okay, so that's why when you start painting, you've got to, wherever you start, you've got to finish that row before. Don't think, okay, I'm going to be up there, so I'm going to reach as far as I can. I can only reach over to there, and then I can reach from the ladder from there down to there. Don't do that. If you start at the top, finish at the top, and then start the next bit of your door trim and start coming down and do the entire trim all the way down before you start doing the next one. Don't, if you're up on a ladder or something, don't just say, okay, I'm going to go from here down to there and then from here down to there. Then I'm going to move my ladder. If you're doing an 8-foot tall door, let's say. Okay, don't do that, because then it's going to be hard for you to transition. You'll know what I mean, because the semi-gloss paint's going to start to get sticky as you try to blend it in, and you're not going to be able to blend it in. And you leave it, and then when it dries, you're going to see your stop and go marks from your paint brush. Your stop and go mark there, your stop and go mark there. You're going to say, oh, that's what he was talking about. Yeah. Once you start, you want to keep going all the way down. And if I was painting this door jamb, I would have done it an entirely different way. I've got a video of that on my channel. If you want to watch that, go to my main channel page on my YouTube channel and click on playlists, and then scroll down to painting, and I've got all my paint videos there. Okay? All right. This looks nice. Didn't really take me very long to do. And I'm going to wait a little bit longer, and then I'll pull that masking tape off. Don't forget to take your masking tape off, especially if you're going to do that when you're painting your edge. Okay? Because you don't want the paint, the masking tape to start getting sticky before you pull it off, or for it not to come off properly or anything like that because you left it on too long. Okay, remember that. Hey, here's another tip for you. Yes, another tip. I never know when I'm going to give another tip out, but when you wash this out, this has had paint on it for over an hour. I did 3 different coats up there on the ceiling, cutting it in, and I wrapped this with plastic between each coat, but invariably you're going to get some thickness of paint in there. And so as I was cleaning it, I take a steel wired brush, you know, kind of like that, and then I get right in there in the bristles and get, you know, I first clean it as best I can first, and then I get in there with the bristles and try to do that, even on the sides and the edges. And I try to do a really good job. And then when I let it dry, I want to try to have all the ends together the best I can, you know. And then before I paint with it again, you'll see that there's some edges that are already coming out. See, I mean, invariably you get that. You get some edges that aren't going to stick in there. So before, you know, once I put this away, I may wrap this with a paper towel too. I used to do that too. Wrap it with a paper towel and wrap it, and then fold over the edge. But then even once it's all dry, you're going to get bits that stick out, okay? And your paint brush is only as good as you maintain it, okay? So I would take these pieces and I get my carpet scissors and I would pull them down and I would snip those off. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait until the whole thing is dry. And then I'll snip off, you know, a few of these, because if you leave those, the next time you get ready to do cut in, you're going to get one of these that constantly hits the wall. Once you get a little bit of paint on one of these, you'd be surprised at what it does to your finish, especially if you're trying to cut in a wall or a door jamb or whatever you do. Okay, and it will make your paintbrush last that much longer. This thing, I've used this cutting paint in and stuff on this condo for all the painting that I've done. I've been using that, and I intend to use this for a lot longer. It really works out really well. If you see one of these at the store, most hardware stores now have these, and usually they're less than $10. This one happens to be a 2-inch. I forget what brand it is. You don't have to, oh, it's a Worcester. You see it? Worcester. You don't have to get a Worcester. You can get something else. But this seems to work pretty good. It's all you really need for doing your cut in, your door jambs, your baseboards, and all that. I wouldn't go, if I was you, I wouldn't go any higher than like a 2.5, and I wouldn't go any lower than this. You don't need, you know, they have these 1.5 inches, even 1 inch I've seen. You don't need that. This will do pretty much anything you want. Okay, you get one too small, and then you're doing extra passes on a door jamb and stuff, and maybe the 1.5 inches just isn't really working out that well. 2-inch works really good. There's your tip for the day. Okay, well, about an hour later, I decided to pull the masking tape up. And this is what you're going to see. Oh, it's not going to be perfect. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Not going to be perfect at all, because, why is that? Because there's spray texture on the wall. I don't care how tight you get masking tape. I don't care if you use the blue tape, the green tape, the regular masking tape. No matter what you do, you're going to get some on the wall. And I don't care if it's on the wall, do I? I don't care if it's on the wall like that, because I still have to cut in the wall. When I cut in the wall, guess what? I'm not going to put any masking tape on the ceiling or anything like that, because I'll have the dark gray on the ceiling, because no ifs, ands, or buts. This is what's going to happen if you think you can run masking tape up there and just paint your ceiling and pull it off. Guess what? All that white paint is going to be on your finished paint of your wall if you're not painting your walls. I don't care how good of a masking person you are. It's just how it's going to be. If you have smooth wall, meaning no spray texture on the ceilings, then chances are it's going to be way better than that. But not when you have spray texture knockdown on the walls. See what I'm saying? But at least I've got all of the ceiling painted, and had I cut that in with the paintbrush, I could have done a way better job than that, but it would have taken me forever, because as you saw, I had to go 3 coats over that, and I still would have had little bits and pieces here and there. And when you're cutting in your ceiling, you don't really care if you get a little bit on your walls. But I didn't want to get, you know, 1 inch of white paint down on my walls. That's why I put the masking tape up there. You see what I mean? So when I cut in my blue, I only have a little bit of the white to cut in. I don't have to cut in an inch and a half of white on the walls, and you know what's going to happen there. I'd have to cut in probably twice. This way, maybe I can get by with just cutting in once, or I may have to cut in twice. I don't know. But hey, that's what's going to happen. And look what happened over here where my grout was. I'm not too happy with this, but I don't know what else I could have done. Let's see if I can't get you in there. See there? See how the paint bled through the top edge because I couldn't get the masking tape down there 100% because the grout is not 100% flat. And see, I got some paint on the grout, some places not on the grout. I can't leave that like that. You see what I mean? But because I had so much grout, I had to decide, do I want to paint that whole line white or do I want to leave the grout line? And most of the grout line was okay, and in some places the grout is sticking down from the ceiling by you know, a good quarter or a good 1/8 inch to 3/16. Did I really want to zip a white line around there at the top? I really didn't want to do that because they had the grout not painted from before. Now if the old paint was painted over that entire grout line, I would have painted that entire grout line. But look where the grout line is there. You know, their tiles are short from the ceiling by a 1/4 inch. I got a nice grout line up there. So what do you suppose I'm going to do with that? Am I going to leave it like that? Heaven forbid. You just remember what that looks like, okay? And look over here. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. I'm going to have to clean that off the grout. And I can do that. I can do it, and I'll make it look nice and pretty. And I can, when do I want to do that? Do I want to, I'm probably going to get up there now and do it. That paint, I've got to think about it. Do I want to do it now? I don't want to get the rest of the grout line saturated with white paint, you know. But when it's all said and done, when I get done with this bathroom, I'm going to clean all of the tiles around the tub enclosure and on the tile floor, and I'm going to put a couple coats of clear sealer probably on this. And then once I get all that white paint off, once I put sealer on that grout, I'm going to have a nice defined grout line all the way along there again, right? So I could leave this paint like this for tonight and do it tomorrow, or I can do it, I can clean off most of that now. I'm not, I'm just toying. I think I should do it tomorrow. Because see, if I try to clean it off now and start wiping on it too hard with a bristle brush and all that kind of stuff, then I'm going to start getting some of the paint off the ceiling off of there, and then I'm not going to have a nice straight line when I get done. It's going to be all wonky on the ceiling. Then I'm going to have to cut in this whole thing with the paintbrush with no masking tape, you know, when I get done cleaning. So I think I'm going to leave it like that for tonight, and then I'll clean it off tomorrow and try to do a good job. And then when I get done with that, if I have to do any tight cut-in, I'll use my cut-in brush, or in small little areas, maybe I use that little artist brush along the ceiling or something. We'll see. And I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. Now here's the thing, when you put masking tape around there, I was basically putting masking tape around there so that I could cut that in without properly cutting it in, without getting it on the wall. But after you take the masking tape off, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a little bit of paint on the wall that went through the masking tape on the edge because there's spray texture on the wall, see? I don't care if I would have used blue masking tape, green masking tape, or the regular masking tape and pushed it down. There's no way you're going to be able to push it down every nook and corner on there if you got spray texture on the wall. And that's okay. That's okay. because I still have to cut this in, the wall paint to the edge of the door casing anyways, right? So that doesn't matter. I just didn't want this white all the way over to here, how it was on my masking tape, you know what I mean? Especially down in there. Okay, now when I cut in, the only little bit of paint, white paint I have to cover is from there to there. And when I cover the paint, the gray paint from here over, that's going to cover not only this tan, it's going to cover that little bit of white, but not that much white had I not put the masking tape on. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to show you that. I didn't want to give you the false hope. Oh, I'm just going to go and paint all my door frames because VideoJoe showed me how to put masking tape on, and you've got all your existing walls are painted. Let's say all your existing walls are painted, and you just want to give your door jambs a fresh coat of paint. And you're going to end up painting all of your doors because you saw my video on how easy it is to paint those doors and make them look that nice, and that you can do it. And you can set them all up in your garage. And I show you how to do all that. And now you got this bright idea that you're just going to put masking tape on the edge here because you're not a very good cut-in person of cutting in a line. And you're just going to run the masking tape on there. Well, guess what? It's not going to work, is it? Especially if you've got spray texture on your wall. I don't care how tight you put that masking tape. When you pull it off, this is what it's going to look like. And if that is your finished paint on your wall, now you're going to have to cut in your walls all in. So my advice to you is, if you ever were to go, and let's say you're just painting, you just want to give your doors a fresh coat of paint, you take all those out into your garage, and you want to paint your door frames, and they're all white now, but you've got a bright white, let's say, and it's a slight difference of coloration between a bright white and the white paint that you have on the edge of your door jamb now, or your door casings now. What to do with that? Well, my advice would be, when you get ready to paint, you're just painting your door frames, and this is your existing paint, and you're not going to be repainting, let's say, don't paint this edge at all from here over, okay? Just paint your new paint with your paintbrush from here over. All the way. Wrap it all the way around. Wrap it, and just paint to this edge. Okay? You could still get all your door jambs painted, mask them off down at the bottom, where your tile floors are, where your wood floors are, where your vinyl planking flooring is, and stuff like that. At the bottom of something, if you've got carpet, you can kind of push the carpet back a little bit, get your masking tape down there, and kind of shove it down there, and you'll get it further than where it is. And then after you paint down to there, down to your masking tape, pull your masking tape off, and then refluff your carpet back up, let's say. If you've got this type of carpet, you know. If you've got a level loop Berber carpet, then just push your masking tape down as tight as you can, angling it down and then folding it over, and you'll be fine. Okay, so I wanted to give you the rest of the story when you're putting masking tape down on the wall before you paint your door jambs, okay? And you know why I did that, because I'm just repainting the bathroom, and I put new paint on there. I got it that close with a roller. How did I get it that close with a roller? Well, I show you that on one of my other videos. If you care to watch that. And then I wanted to paint the rest of this door jamb because it wasn't painted from here over, because I wasn't doing the bathrooms before we moved into this house. I thought I'll just do this later so that I can put masking tape on there, paint this edge, because I wanted bright white paint all on this edge. I wanted it all to look 100% professional when I got all done. And I've achieved that because now this paint is all the way over there without me having to cut it in. I could have cut it in without putting that masking tape, but I wanted to show you how to do it with masking tape in case you're not very good with your cut-in brush, or, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do that next to this cabinet. But now I've got all that edge because I put the masking tape on there first. You see what I mean? And now I don't have to cut the finished paint in as far to the white as I do. You see? There's hardly any white on that. Okay? So there's a little bit, but hey, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. All right? So now you know. Well, that's all I got for this time. But I'll be back with more videos.